Hello, everybody.
Hello, Hello there. Hello, John. How are we doing?
We're doing well. So, welcome to Black Knight Historical's What's It All About Then series. We're going to start this one with Halloween. So, what's that all about, Ian?
Well, it's Michael Myers and a slasher film, isn't it?
Things like this and stuff. And
The Omen.
The Omen and Friday the 13th. It's not about that at all, is it?
No, it's not. No. That's all rubbish, really.
That's the commercialised view of Halloween. Trick or treat. Children knocking at your door, dressing up as wizards and witches, giving them candy, giving them sweets and such on. But in fact, Halloween has a much deeper root.
It's not even about pumpkins, really.
It's not even about pumpkins. We'll tell you about pumpkins in a little while. However, where did Halloween originate in?
Well, Halloween it just means All Hallows Eve, and the 1st of November is All Hallows or All Saints Day in the Christian Church. But before that, the 31st of October was known as Samhain. It's one of the old 8 festivals of the year. You may be familiar with Yule, which was supplanted into Christmas, and opposite that, Litha is Midsummer, and then we've got others such as Imbolc, early spring, Ostara, Beltane or May Day. We get Midsummer, as I said, Litha, and so we go around the year in 8 festivals, the solstices and the equinoxes.
So Halloween's basically based on an old pagan, mainly Celtic pagan festival.
Very much so.
Of Samhain, spelt Samhain, if you ever read it. Now, Samhain was a time when our Celtic forebears felt that spirits and the dead could wander the earth, and so they were naturally rather worried about this. So Halloween's really about superstition. It's about ghosts. It's about the departed and the dead. It's really nothing to do with horror films and blood and gore. So in a way, it's actually much more disturbing.
So how does that bring the pumpkin into the story? Because what's it all about then? This week, is all going to be about pumpkins and why we have pumpkins in our windows and on our doorsteps now to celebrate Halloween as a modern consumer festival rather than where it came from.
Many years ago, people would carve faces in turnips. Some carved into incredibly scary faces. Mangel-wurzels, Swedes,
even big potatoes and sugar beet.
Indeed. And they would put lights inside them. So the practice of decorating these was very popular, particularly in the Celtic countries and in Ireland. And in fact, what happened was, as we know, many people from Ireland immigrated to America. And they discovered when they got to America that the pumpkin, which is native to North America, but didn't grow in Europe at that time, was much easier to carve and a much more effective way of making what they called jackolanterns. So,
did you know that these things have been cultivated by humans for nearly 10,000 years? Long way back, isn't it?
A long way back. So, people have been making what we call jackolanterns for Halloween for a long time. And the myth originates in Ireland, about a man called Stingy Jack. And according to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. Yeah, true to his name, Jack didn't want to pay for the drink, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin so that Jack could use the coin to buy the drinks. Once the devil did so, Jack decided to keep the money and popped it in his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his original form. Very clever, really.
Tricky, eh?
Jack eventually freed the devil under the condition that he wouldn't bother him for a year. But should Jack die, he also made a pact with the devil that the devil would not claim his soul. Anyway, a year later, Jack tricked the devil again when the devil turns up by climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he's up in the tree, Jack carved the sign of the cross into the tree's trunk, and the devil couldn't come down. So the devil promised Jack not to bother him for 10 more years.
But soon after that, Jack died, and there was much rejoicing. The legend goes that God would not allow Jack into heaven, because he was such an unsavoury, villainous figure. And the devil, of course, upset by the trick that Jack had played on him, and keeping his word not to claim his soul, would not allow Jack into hell. So Jack is now a ghoul, trapped between the planes of the living and the dead. He sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning ember, a burning coal, sulphurous coal, to light his way. And Jack put that piece of coal into a carved out turnip, not a pumpkin, and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. Ooh. And the Irish, they began referring to this carved turnip as a jackolantern.
And so that's where the practice comes from. And in Ireland and Scotland, people began to make their own jack-o'-lanterns by carving scary faces into the turnips and into other root vegetables, and of course eventually pumpkins, and placing them in the windows or near the doors. And the idea was to frighten away stingy Jack in case he came to bother them, and to frighten off any other wandering evil spirits, which, as we've already mentioned, were thought to be wandering the face of the earth, Samhain. In England, large beats were used, mangel wurzels and such, as the practice spread across the whole of the United Kingdom. And in fact, the tradition comes back over to the United States, and then that's where we start to get the origin of trick or treat.
And pumpkins were carved because they're a lot easier to carve than the turnips, mangel wurzels, swedes, beets of native Europe.
But there we go, the story of jack-o'-lantern and the reason why we have pumpkins at Halloween.
But today, of course, it's completely opposite. We put them on our doorsteps and in our windowsills to encourage the little giddy winkies to come banging on our door.
So, get your carving knives out, get busy on your mangel wurzels,
There's Johnny,
or your turnips, or your pumpkins, and have a great Halloween.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Goodbye.